Greetings to all and welcome to my first Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 video. I'm making this video because I had a few friends ask about what I was doing lately, and this is pretty much all I'm doing lately besides work. So Microsoft Flight Simulator, as you can tell by the name, came out in 2024. I am currently using an Xbox Series X with a Thrustmaster joystick setup, and I have built a custom steel slightly angled table that slides under my desk that holds the controls, and that setup looks something like this. Okay, so let's get into it. This is the main menu. Here you can select activities, the Challenge League, Marketplace, Free Flight, where I spend most of my time, Career, which I've only slightly dabbled in. Now we're going to go ahead and enter Free Flight mode. This is where before the flight you can change aircraft. These are the fixed wing aircraft. There's quite a few, all kinds of interesting things there. There is lighter than aircraft, gliders, rotor chopper things. I don't even know what those are called. Anyways, you go in here and you configure them all just before the flight. You can add fuel, remove seats. There's all kinds of configuration can be done there. So here we are back at the globe. This is where you do your flight planning. Here I've opened up the EFB, which is the electronic flight book, and I am looking through a flight that I had saved and loaded. It's created on a website that is linked to your Xbox account. So this is the process. We go to load. Here's one here. I called it Norway 3. I had a series of 7 flights that went north to south through Norway. I'll file it, which puts it into the avionics, into the system. Close that. Adjust the time of day or leave it local, whatever. You can go in and change the weather and do all that. You can also do that during the actual flight. This part can take a little while as it's pulling data from the cloud. And looks like here we are ready to go fly.
Tromso Tower Tom Shell Uniform November X-Ray 6810 ready for departure runway 18 IFR to Bodo.
Okay, here we are with an external camera view, sitting on the runway, ready for takeoff. Aircraft's basically ready to go. This is a cheat sheet that I can have open on a tablet or print, and it allows me to see what controls I have set up. The aircraft are not all the same, and I'm learning that each aircraft needs an individual profile so that you can keep all its individual settings straight. Here's the avionics package and all your controls. Intimidating, but fairly easy to learn. My co-pilot, who seems to be along for every flight, I don't know why. She doesn't add much, except probably a little bit of class to the cockpit. Let's get ready for takeoff here. We've got propeller pitch in, flaps down, throttle in. We're going to release the parking brake here. And away we go. Now it's just a question of the rudder control to stay on center line. And we're going to get above stall speed. You see the speed indicator in front of you on the left. It's scrolling up through the red, and there we are. We pull back slightly on the yoke, and that's it. This is the external camera mode, which you can move around and manipulate while you're flying. During takeoff and landings, it's probably not the best time to operate the camera. It does get a little tricky. So here we are on climb out. Normally we'd go to a certain flight level. We're not going to do that today. I'm just going up to sightseeing level. We're going to adjust the prop pitch a little bit, slow everything down, raise the flaps up, drops the engine RPM, burns less fuel. Beautiful countryside here along the coast. So a little later in the flight here, we're coming into the airport. So what we want to do is slow down. So you cut the throttle, cut the propeller pitch, turn off the autopilot, drop the flaps, take a peek at the map. And there's the runway. These late afternoon and night flights are wonderful because the runway is so easy to spot. All that wonderful lighting, you think I could line up on the center? No. Full flaps, throttle's cut. The airspeed, as you notice, is heading down towards the red there. Dropping pretty good. Hey, look at that, I managed to actually stay on, oh, well, I spoke too soon. There goes landing light and probably a left tire. Here during flight, I'm pulling up the weather, which allows you to make changes mid-flight. So I have the autopilot set, cruising along, and changing the time of day. You can also change it to real time, so this mimics the actual local time in whatever region you're flying. Okay, you can override that, make it nice and daylight again. You can select live weather. If there was a blizzard there, there'd be one here on the screen. However, it doesn't always seem to work. Quite possibly a bug in the software. Here is another demo of that same concept. Time. Change from clear skies to thunderstorms. And this actually will sock you in pretty good. Visibility is terrible. You can raise and lower the ceiling. It's fairly important to only make these adjustments when you know the relative terrain around you. You have the autopilot set and you're really steady. Here you can see we raised that ceiling a bit. Beautiful. That's all wonderful. However, I prefer to fly in clear skies because part of the appeal to this whole simulator thing is to look at the ground and see what's going around underneath you. Here I am setting the altitude feature of the autopilot, setting it to a desired altitude, and then the rate at which I want the aircraft to descend. So here's a little more tropical location. Quick takeoff out of here. It's a pretty short runway if I remember. That's probably has something to do with why I skidded out in the grass. And here we go. Again, my rudder skills need some help, but I'm working on it. Alright, so we got flaps down. Giving her all she's got. Trying to stay on the runway. Oh boy, look at that. So just gonna barely clear these trees and that last hut there. Locals probably aren't too happy, but you know, I don't know why they built next to an airport anyways, even a 1,500-foot one. I've always been fascinated and terrified of helicopters, have flown in them a few times and did not really enjoy it. However, in the sim, it's quite interesting and also quite a challenge. And got a guidance counselor and enrolled in YouTube University, old YTU. Watched a bunch of stuff on there and got some great tips and help. And sure enough, within 3 or 4 hours, I was able to hover and move around pretty well. Still pretty green, but I'm working on it, and I truly enjoy it. You know, one of the great things about flying the helicopter is being able to hover and look at things and travel around, whether you go into, you know, your neighborhood or your old neighborhood or somewhere you visited or wherever it is. It's just more interesting. Somewhere in southern Arizona along I-10, just south of Phoenix, Arizona, in just south of Casa Grande. Of course, flying in cities is incredibly fun. You can land on rooftops, and there's helipads everywhere, and it can be quite challenging, but still. There's Central Park in New York. I've never been there. So to wrap this up, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 is extremely entertaining. It holds my interest like no other video game probably ever could. It combines elements of things that have always fascinated me: mapping, geography, history, flying, aerodynamics. I was in the Air Force. I worked on airplanes for a dozen years, worked in general aviation, not a pilot. This has been a lot of fun and has taken up a lot of my time. And if you continue to practice, you can stick a landing like this. Damn, I'm down the center. I just about hit the stripes. I wasn't speeding. Yeah, decent landing for me, and I kept her straight. Little bounce, no doubt. Just a wee one. When I first purchased 2024 back in December, I was running it on a PC. I have an older Dell i7 9th gen or something, maybe 5 years old. Great fast laptop at the time, but you know, a little long in the tooth, so I had some stuttering issues and some other things, so I switched over to an Xbox. I'm glad I did, but the Xbox seems to be way cheaper than buying a gaming computer. I'm glad you watched this far. I hope you got something out of it. The guys I mentioned earlier are Squirrel, IslandSimPilot, and SimHanger Flight Simulation. I will put their names in the text in the description. Click on them and go to their link for technical information, setting up the controller, the joystick, all the buttons. These guys know all the ins and outs and save me tons of time, a wealth of knowledge, and very, very nice. Go see what they're doing and subscribe to them. All right, take care and enjoy the flight sim world, hopefully half as much as I am.